Ok, hola, ¿qué tal? Soy Tatiana de Cicloaxion. Estoy aquí con Chris Carlsson, pionero de la Masa Crítica de San Francisco, y vamos a hacerle algunas preguntas. Hello, Chris.
Hello.
I want to ask you something about what's the difference between a normal bike ride and a critical mass.
Well, a normal bike ride, you're usually by yourself, all alone, and the street's full of cars and full of engineering and motorcycles like the one going by.
Oh no! Again.
No, just keep going.
Okay.
So normally I'll start over, it's fine. When you're in a critical mass ride, you're not alone. And when you're riding normally, you're alone. That's the common experience of an urban cyclist. And when you're riding alone in streets that are not designed for bicycles, you're in trouble because you have to be completely conscious of your own safety at all times, or you will die. It's really pretty heavy. And so for critical mass, the experience is quite different because you don't have to worry about dying so readily. You're more likely to be having a lovely time with lots of people and having interesting conversations. And what is really exciting about it for me, many things, but one of the main things is that as you ride through the streets in a group, you actually change the city in those moments. And you change not just the city, but your own consciousness, your own imagination of what a city could be. And you begin to hear things differently because there's no cars. And you smell things differently because there are no cars. And you can taste life in a new way that otherwise you really have a rare opportunity to have. And critical mass gave many millions of people now, but for sure hundreds of thousands over the years, this quite different experience of what city life could be. And it only happens for 2 hours of a month. It should happen all day long, every day.
Yeah, it should really do. And you just said about change, how the city changed from the experience of the critical mass. What things do you think that have changed in our life now from what you've seen in like the way we behave, the way things work? What kind of things you've seen that have changed?
Sure. Well, I think critical mass had different impacts. One is on public questions of urban transportation. So many more people are bicycling, not just in my city of San Francisco, but in most cities of the world. There's been a gigantic surge of cycling throughout the world, and it starts with critical mass, strangely enough. Of course, there are many mainstream kind of advocacy groups and nonprofit organizations and bike groups that say, well, we did it because we talked to the government and they agreed to put in a bike lane, and that's what caused this improvement in bike conditions, and that's why people are riding bikes. And that's part of the story. It's not irrelevant, but it's not the reason why. The reason why is that we had thousands of people on bicycles seizing the streets without permission, without any license, every month for years and years. And that caused the cities to have to adapt and change to this new phenomenon. And it invited many thousands of more people to join the experience because they saw it going by. They're stuck in their car or they're walking or they're on a bus. That looks like fun. I want to be part of that. And so many people started to bicycle because they had the experience of trying it for the first time, for many, in critical mass. So that's important. The other thing I think it did importantly is it challenged the left. The left is dead for all intents and purposes. La izquierda está muerto. Probably for the best. It's the 20th century that was from, and now it's over. We're in the 21st century, and we need to rethink radical politics. And radical politics has benefited from the spirit of critical mass, which is a spirit of horizontalidad, a leaderlessness, which is sometimes great, sometimes not great, needs to be managed, needs to be discussed, needs to be worked on all the time. And putting in the center of political behavior pleasure. Instead of sacrifice and suffering and feeling terrible and being stoic and just going through it, the hell with that. We want to enjoy life. Yeah. We're not here very long. None of us. We're all here for a very short time. We better have a really good time while we're here, or we have done something wrong. And so if we want to have revolutionary politics, it should be extremely attractive. It should be something everybody wants to be part of. And if it's not fun, not very many people are going to be part of it. Most people do. You mean I have to sacrifice? You mean I have to work? I have to suffer? And there's a lot of people, yes, you do. That's right, because you're going to be a militant. And it's like, that's bullshit. That's Christianity. We're done with that. So what we want to have is a politics that really puts pleasure, not just pure hedonism, but a collectively produced pleasure, a pleasure that we do together, that's in this new way of appropriating the urban environment. So that's I think a big contribution from critical mass.
That's an amazing idea. The thought of pleasure with an objective is amazing. Thinking about that, let me ask you something. How do you would like to see like a worldwide forum thinking in that way? How would you apply that philosophy to a worldwide forum?
Well, I'll be speaking about this tomorrow in my talk. But my problem is that as the bicycle culture itself has really strong limits, and we've already reached them, and we can't go past them in terms of bicycling. Bicycling has no future. It is the future of movement. We're going to move a lot more on bicycles as time goes on. But as a place to start politics from, it's very limited. So what we need to do is think about the kind of logic that critical mass helped create, which is a logic of openness, celebration, challenge, defiance, all combined, and apply that to how we produce life, not just how we produce movement, but how we produce all of life. So water, housing, food, communications, transport, all of them need to be in the mix into the discussion. And that's the future. It's not about bicycling.
It's like going beyond that.
We're done. That was a great place to start. So what I like to say is bicycling opens the door.
Yeah.
And you have to walk through the door. And once you've walked through the door, you're not talking about bicycling anymore. You're talking about all of life. And if you're not talking about all of life, it's not interesting.
So, whoa, that's amazing. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Thank you for your time. So that was it. Muchas gracias. Chao.